The industry has a deep relationship with a variety of lead aggregators, most of whom are owned by, private equity. But it's fascinating. I mean, there's some really interesting things. The lead aggregators, they're out there, and the more price transparency there is in the industry, the more you're likely to see additional lead aggregators.
Welcome to Season 6 of Bridge the Gap, a podcast dedicated to informing, educating, and influencing the future of housing and services for seniors. Powered by sponsors AccuShield, Inquire, Connected Living, Hamilton Captel, Refera, ServiceMaster, Patriot Angels, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. The contributors are brought to you by Peak Senior Living and produced by Solinity Marketing.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap podcast, the senior living podcast with Josh and Lucas, a great friend and a great guest on today that everyone knows. Welcome the CEO of ASHA, Dave Schless. Welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here, as always. Good to see you both. I thank you, as always, for the opportunity to visit with you both.
It's great to have you back on. And for our listeners that have listened for a couple of years now, they know when we have Dave on, we're going to be talking about the annual meeting with ASHA. And this one in particular is going to be the mid-year meeting, which I really, really enjoy. And it's going to be this year at the Grand Summit Hotel in Park City, Utah. I couldn't think of a better place to be in June than Park City, Utah. It's such a great location. And you've actually had it here before. I want to say maybe back in 2018 or 2019. I remember being there and having a lot of fun. What drove you going back to this location?
We started doing these mid-year meetings several years ago. And the idea for us really was we wanted to do a meeting that was a little bit smaller than the annual meeting. We really like to find venues that have great meeting space, but also allow us to play golf. And as we're big on hikes, and in some places we can we'll rent a bunch of bikes and we'll do bike rides. So Park City works really well for us. It's also an easy it's an easy flight to get. Salt Lake City is a relatively easy place to get to with direct flights from many parts of the U.S. So it checks a lot of boxes for us. So works well. We'll see. Hopefully there won't be snow on the ground in June, but I think they've had a lot of snow this winter. But it's a good place for a summer meeting for us.
Absolutely. Well, and I know that for a very long time you also have a spouse program, and what a great opportunity for leaders and decision makers and influencers in the industry to also bring their spouses. I mean, Utah, the surrounding area, offers so many different adventures for people that want to kind of scratch that itch. There's national parks, and you can kind of make an extended week out of it if you'd like to. A great time to do that in June. You mentioned some of the activities. You have a golf outing. You also have a group hike. I've done those before, and it's I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about the mid-year meeting. In addition to the one that you start off the year in, typically in January, there's a group event or a group experience where you're not necessarily talking about the issues of the day. You're getting to enjoy the outdoors via golf or a hike, and get to share that experience with people that you work with or your colleagues in the industry. And I feel like that really does help drive relationships and be beneficial for things to follow up on in the future. Is that the reason why that's been successful?
We never wanted to be a big organization. I mean, that was never part of the mindset of what's the organization going to be. I mean, I think, if you go back to when ASHA was started in the early 90s, I mean, I think the bigger thing for us was I think people wanted to make connections with other professionals in the industry, share ideas, share best practices. And there was a camaraderie that, kind of developed early on. And I think, we've tried to keep that in the DNA. And these activities, they really allow you, as you described it perfectly, Lucas. I mean, it gives people a chance to, make connections. And, it's funny, I've gone on a number of the hikes and done the different activities. And, it's amazing how much, you can network when you're hiking, even though you might be, gasping for air if you're in a, higher altitude than you're used to. But those interactions are really important, and they're a really important part of our meetings. I think people like the ASHA meetings because they're maybe a little bit less intense. We're always happy if somebody brings a spouse or a significant other with them to the meeting. We encourage that. That's great when they do that. It's a really important part of, the ASHA culture. And it really goes back to, the earliest days of ASHA when we had 15 people in the organization.
Well, Dave, I've been part of the organization now for a few years. You guys do put together not only a great, well-organized event and great venues, but I think that's the baseline of what you guys do well. To me, it's always been special to be part of these events because I feel like you do a really good job of bringing a huge number of very committed thought leaders to the industry together with partners to the industry. So, it seems like everyone there is always very vested and invested in the industry. And one of the things that I always appreciate is it's always relevant, not only to what's happening in our industry currently and the issues that we're all facing so that our membership and our partners to the membership can work on solutions together, but you do a great job at also bringing issues to the table that we should be thinking about or that we will be dealing with in the coming months and years. And I think that really revolves around the agenda that you guys put together, and it's packed with current topics and topics that we should be discussing. Could you outline and maybe give a teaser for those that are planning to come, or maybe those that are on the bubble of should I join, should I partner? What are some of the hot button issues that the speakers, the panels, and guests will be talking about at this event?
We always try and make the meetings as relevant and timely as possible. And I appreciate your observations, Josh. And that's always the goal. But sometimes, you have something that looks great on paper and it doesn't translate as well as you had hoped. But this particular meeting for us, I think we hit a bunch of really important topics. And, we start with a keynote speaker. This year, we've got he's a professor at Stanford. His name is Jeffrey Cohn. He's a researcher who's, really probably, one of the leading authorities on the topic of belonging, which is a really interesting topic. And when I saw the opportunity to, reach out and see if he would be interested in speaking to our group, I mean, that topic of belonging is really interesting because it hits two ways for our industry. One obviously is, the workforce side of this, and we talked about it, and it's probably the single biggest issue that I think most of our operators are dealing with. So you've got that piece of this, but then also we've done a lot of research, and when you look at the most successful senior housing communities, and this is true for independent living, it's true for assisted living. You always say, okay, what is it about this community? And what is it about the community is that people are connected and they feel, it feels like home. And so that sense of belonging it's crucial both as an employer. That's the secret sauce. I mean, you figure out how to make people feel at home in these communities, and I guarantee you're going to have a successful community. We have a series of sessions that really cover, a lot of ground. Our first session the next morning is one that is calling it Boomers and the Future of Senior Living, and we have a big study that is not completed, but it will be out probably around the time of this meeting or maybe shortly thereafter. And it's a survey of several thousand older adults, 55 plus. About 80% of the participants in the sample fit into the boomer category. So it's a really timely and a really important topic to really start thinking about what are the implications for the industry, and that covers just so much ground. It's an area that will affect you whether you're focused on the active adult or whether you're more focused on the higher acuity side of the business. It's really interesting. We also have a panel discussion that I think will kind of break new ground, certainly for us. And I don't believe anyone's ever gotten into this, but the title of the session is Understanding Price Transparency and the Role of Lead Aggregators in Seniors Housing. This is one of those things that I've been paying a lot more attention to, completely rebuilding our Where You Live Matters website, which is a site that we developed for older adults and their families. The industry has a very deep relationship with a variety of lead aggregators, most of whom are owned by private equity. It's interesting, and sometimes the lead aggregators are they do a nice job and they're good for the consumers, and sometimes that's not the case. But it's fascinating. I mean, there's some really interesting things. The lead aggregators are they're out there, and the more price transparency there is in the industry, the more you're likely to see additional lead aggregators. So we'll spend some time talking about the issue. We'll spend some time talking about the hotel industry, which is really very relevant. My guess is a lot of folks haven't really paid attention to this, but I will tell you, I don't have the actual dollar figure. There's a revenue impact to the industry, probably in the tens of millions of dollars from outside, lead aggregators, and so it's something as the industry looks at, revenue. It's worth really paying attention to this topic. So I think people will find this a really eye-opening discussion. Then we have, our capital markets panel, which again, in terms of timely topics, I'm not sure there's anything more timely than a real good, robust discussion about capital markets. Capital markets, have become a very challenging, element of things, particularly on the debt side, as we know. So I think this will be a really good time to get into it with, some folks that really, have been involved in, various aspects of, the capital markets. We'll then jump into a discussion with Fred Bentley with ATI Advisory. And, we've been doing a lot of work with ATI over the past several years, again, really trying to help our members, better understand the opportunities of, partnering with Medicare Advantage plans or ACOs. So this will be, kind of a continuation of an ongoing theme for us that we think it's really important for our members to better understand, these relationships, contracts, how are they being structured? What should you know about? How much risk do you want to take? All of those things. It's one of those that is just really relevant to owners and operators in the business today. And then we really just added another session, lots of content. We'll make sure we have, plenty of coffee in the afternoon too.
Wow. Well, it is a power-packed mid-year event with great keynotes, thought leaders, members coming together from the industry with partners. An added session, Dave, for that one, I'm going to need more than coffee. I need Red Bull. I'm just going to go ahead and make that request right now. You're going to be talking about insurance in the afternoon, and it's a very needed topic. But what an awesome opportunity for members. And I'll tell you, again, these meetings, the annual, the mid-year, and the other ones that you have throughout the year for the members, such incredible value to have person-to-person engagement. But I'll tell you, for those that are not members or partners, You guys work around the calendar, putting out valuable information and resources of things that are happening in Washington, happening in states. Also just valuable information on where the industry is, where it's going, in the data. I can't tell you these email blasts that you guys put out in conjunction with your partners. I regularly pass along to clients the information that's been shared to my team, and it's great educational resources. So we appreciate the partnership with ASHA and all that you guys do to bring value to your membership and to the partners.
Well, thank you. It's kind of you to say that. We try and stay focused, and we're really kind of focused in 4 areas, which is less than some groups are serving a wider range of things, but we really try and stay focused, and and those are things that are really core. The meetings are really important, the advocacy, the research, and that kind of consumer piece, that where you live matters, which wasn't something that we did 20 years ago, but it's relatively new, but it's it really is one of those things that's important. I thank you for your very kind words, and again, kudos to you and Bridge the Gap. You have such a interesting array of professionals that touch the industry, and I thank you both for the work that you do, because I think you have really helped enlighten a lot of the industry, and keep at it. It's important, and it's appreciated. So thank you, and always good to visit with both of you.
Well, thank you, Dave. Mine and Lucas, Sarah's bags, and our team, we are packing. We've got our tickets. We are ready to see you soon at the mid-year meeting. It's always a wonderful time. We're going to see a lot of our listeners there, and a lot of our listeners need to be there. So if you're interested in meeting with us in person with Dave and all the thought leaders in the industry, make sure you connect with us. Lucas, I know we're going to give everybody that opportunity.
June 19th through 20th in Grand Summit Hotel, Park City, Utah, mid-year meeting. Dave Schless, thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you this summer.
Pleasure, always. Thank you. We'll see you in June.
And thanks to all of our listeners for listening to another great episode of Bridge the Gap.
Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap podcast with Josh and Lucas. Connect with the BTG Network team and use your voice to influence the industry by connecting with us at btgvoice.com.